Hi, welcome back. This is the second part of the lecture on researching databases. So last time I talked with you a little bit about the database for opposing viewpoints and issues and controversies. I want to show you a couple of other databases and talk with you a little bit about citing sources. So let's get started. Okay, so back at the research databases at Patrick Henry Community College, we've talked already about issues and controversies, and we've talked about opposing viewpoints. There's another database that will let you look at some different opposing and differing points of view on different topics, and that's the SIRS Issues Researcher. So let's go ahead and click on that. Now the SIRS Issues Researcher, again, shows you some different trending issues. For example, they have an article on concussions in sports, gender identity, police body cameras, etc. So looking at different issues that we might have. If you want to click on View All Issues, you can see, again, a whole range of issues that you can compare and contrast. If I look again at the ethics, I might find something on genetic engineering, genetically modified food, human cloning, etc. I might even just click on the genetic engineering one and I'll see some different viewpoints. You'll see here it talks about genetic engineering will lead to scientific breakthroughs, or the other point of view is that genetic engineering should be banned due to safety concerns. There are some articles associated with that. There are some primary sources, some references, newspapers and magazines, websites. One of the things that I really like about the SIRS website is it also gives a timeline for what happened with regard to that issue over time. This one's a lot more information than they had at the Issues and Controversies. You can also, back up, you can see there's a wonderful little critical thinking question, some different questions that you can pose to yourself to imagine the audience asking as you put together your argument. And my favorite thing about the SIRS research site is they have a research guide. The research guide allows you to, it sort of gives you a template to organize your information, the topics that interest you. Since you're writing a speech to persuade, it's going to give you some tips on that. You're going to think about your intended audience. It's going to ask you some questions and, again, help you organize your information. So going through and downloading the SIRS Issues Researcher Research Guide can be a wonderful little tool for you as you're working. Now, the last database that I want us to look at is, the last database I want us to look at is EBSCOhost. Now, EBSCOhost is a database of databases that gives you articles from pretty much everything that Patrick Henry has to offer. In order to use EBSCOhost, what you want to do is you click on the EBSCOhost and then you select all. I usually select all, and that's literally all the databases that we have here on campus. And you click Continue, and you get a search engine of articles. Now, this is not going to be like the other databases where it sort of puts together an argument for you. Once you have a topic that you're starting to like and feel, then you may find that you have some questions or some gaps in some of what you're researching. So you can use EBSCOhost to try to find articles to fill the gaps. So for example, after I've gone into EBSCOhost, I might want to do some more research on gender and on gender selection for babies and these different designer babies issues, that sort of thing. So what I want to do is you want to limit your results to linked only full text articles. If you don't click on full text articles, then EBSCOhost will give you portions of articles, and that's not very helpful to you. Excuse me. You also want to ask for it to be peer reviewed. So you go in here and you find peer review articles. I'm not finding that. Okay, let's not worry about that. I can get to the peer reviewed after I do my search. Okay, so click on linked full text articles. Then do a keyword search. You can do field searches or author searches or title searches, etc. But I usually just do a field search. And let's do a field search on gender selection. Okay, so I'm just going to do gender selection. And here it returns, it's giving me 2,000 articles. That's no good for me. That's way too many for me to go through. Now here's where I can click on only scholarly or peer-reviewed articles. Again, limit to linked full text. I also want scholarly peer-reviewed articles. That gets me down to 1,400 articles, which is still not quite, as narrow as I would like. So maybe I want to say I only want to look at articles that examine the controversy surrounding gender selection. So let's see. So I selected gender selection and controversy. And here I only get 7 articles. Again, all these articles are full text articles, and they are scholarly journals that have been peer reviewed. So they're very, very reliable articles. So let's look at some of those titles. Let's see, Effects of Universal Pre-K in Oklahoma, Research Highlights. That doesn't sound that interesting. Shall We Dance or Shall We Fight? No, that's not what I'm interested in. Human Cloning. This might be an interesting article. It's going to be talking about going down the slippery slope with regard to human cloning. So that might be an article to examine. An overview of sex selection at conception in mammals. Not so much interested in mammals. Sex-selective abortions in India, parental choice or sexist discrimination. Now that article really, really does sound like something that can be very helpful to me if I'm going to be doing a speech that warns about using gender selection and that sort of thing. So I might click on that article to find some good information. Here is an ethics watch. Let's see, the abstract talks about deals with the practice of sex selection for medical reasons in Great Britain, controversy in medical practice. This also sounds like a pretty good article. So if you click on the article, you'll get the full article. You can save it. You can print it. You can download the full PDF. Here's the PDF for it. Okay. Once you've done that, then you can look it over, see if you like it. And just like with the other sources, you can cite the source. Here it gives you the different citation choices. If I'm going to use APA, for example, here is the way that it should be cited. So it gives you your opportunity to cite your source, and it gives you different versions of those citations. Okay? So So what we've done is we've looked at 4 different databases. 3 of them will help you to select your topic, and the 4th one will help you to flesh out your topic a little bit more. You're going to have an activity where you play with those databases and use them to help you select your persuasive speech topic. Now, a couple of things that I want to tell you about with regard to the sourcing for your persuasive speech. First of all, you're going to need to find at least 2 sources for your persuasive speech that come from these databases. I need you to do some scholarly research for this course, and so this is going to be your opportunity to do that scholarly research. Now, one of the things that you can do when you're doing your research outside of the databases is you can use Wikipedia to do an initial sort of run through, look at your sources. For example, let me go ahead and play around with Wikipedia here. Let's see. If I click on Wikipedia and do a search, maybe let's, oops, went to the wrong place. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's say I do designer babies. Okay, if I go to Wikipedia, I do get an article on designer babies. Now, you do not want to quote Wikipedia when you are doing your speech, but you can use Wikipedia as sort of a general overview of the topic and give yourself some sort of food for thought, places to play, things to sort of pay attention to as you are going through. One of the cool things about Wikipedia, and this is the reason why I think you should use it, is it gives you very detailed references. It can lead you into a good direction for some wonderful sources. And you can probably find these sources in our databases, or you can even use the internet to search these sources. So Wikipedia can work for you. It's just not going to be the appropriate source for you to use. It's not a source that you can use when you're referencing sources in your speech. So let's talk a little bit about referencing your sources within your speech. Now, if you have a source that you're going to cite, you need to verbally cite that source when you're talking. For example, you might quote some information from an article that you read in the New England Journal of Medicine, and you would say an article on genetic engineering in the New England Journal of Medicine states blah, blah, blah. You might find some good information from an article in the New York Times. So you would say, according to the New York Times, so-and-so and so-and-so. Perhaps you have some information based upon what you find at an organization's website. The American Academy of Obstetrics states blah, 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 blah. Or you might read an article where a particular professor has done some really good research on the topic that you're talking about. Then you might say, Dr. Bill Smith, a bioethicist at Columbia University, found that blah, 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 blah. What you need to keep in mind is that you have to cite the person or the article or the source for the information that you're talking about. Speak it specifically when you're talking in your speech. I'll be looking for that whenever I'm listening to your speeches. So with that in mind, I wish you a lot of good luck looking at the research in your databases.